Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is CarQ, and whenever a new hero gets released, we've got to keep the One Tip series going. So today, I have a very special guest.
Hey, I'm ML7, a top 500 Overwatch support streamer from Romania. I'm mostly known for my Ana gameplay, but recently Baptiste caught my interest, so here I am.
So let's start things off with the general tip.
Regenerative Burst is a fantastic ability that is more versatile than Lucio's heal amplification aura. As long as you're in line of sight and in range of a teammate upon initial activation, the rest of the healing will still be active even if they run off. For example, if you play with dive tanks, use Regenerative Burst before they jump in and the effect will persist as they initiate. It's important to note that against heroes with a shield such as Reinhardt, Winston, Orisa, Symmetra, your teammates cannot be on the opposite side of the shield because it blocks line of sight, so it blocks the effect of your Regenerative Burst. His Immortality Field, although it also requires line of sight, still works on both sides of shields. This may be patched. Check the pinned comment or description for an update on this depending on when you watch this video.
And with that out of the way, let's get started.
Against D.Va, her defense matrix eats your healing grenades and bullets but does not eat your Immortality Field, so keep that in mind. Additionally, you can fully tank D.Va's missiles with your Regenerative Burst. However, you can't tank the burst of both her missiles and primary fire if she is right in front of your face. This means that if you keep a safe distance where both of you have effective range, which is short to medium range, you can take some time to duel her while requesting backup from your team. Against Orisa, try to constantly spam her shield. Even if you're the only one doing it, it will technically take you 36 bullets or 12 bursts in a perfect scenario without fall off damage. But regardless, it will break before her next shield is off cooldown. In many scenarios, it's actually a viable option to use your ult against her shield, since it now only takes 6 bursts, and when considering your teammates may be helping you shoot it, her shield will break so fast and often catch her off guard. When facing Reinhardt, if you know he has Shatter, try charging your Exo Boots to jump as soon as you hear the Shatter voice line. After that, you can throw your Immortality Field to help your teammates survive. It's good to get in the habit of constantly charging your boots even if you're not jumping. For Roadhog, use your Immortality Field to save hooked teammates. However, from my experience, it is kind of hard to dodge his hook with your Exo Boots or to save yourself from a hook using Immortality Field in a reactive manner. Predicting the hook is the way it works for me, and reading the Roadhog's body language is the key to success in this scenario. If he suddenly gets really aggressive, for example he goes on a cheeky flank, I'll expect to get hooked and use my abilities right before I feel he is going to use his. Against Winston, you can survive the full Tesla cannon clip with your Regenerative Burst. However, if he is in melee range and uses a combination of melees and zaps to kill you, then you will not survive. So in those cases, you want to run our Exo Boots, jump out and shoot back. It's also important to note that Winston can focus both the Immortality Field and you at the same time. So if you're in an isolated 1 versus 1 with him, you can throw the Immortality Field behind him if you feel like you can't escape his melee range. This will force him to choose between you or the lamp and buy you more time to kill him. Against Hammond, his mines are in detonation range of your Immortality Field, so it's not a reliable counter for it. For example, if Hammond does a condensed ultimate where some mines are really close together, both you and the Immortality Field will explode when you fall back down on it. If the mines are at maximum spread, let's say an open space, the Immortality Field may take some damage from one mine and be at half HP instantly and will be very easy to focus down. For Zarya and her Graviton Surges, try to place your Immortality Field out of the enemy's line of sight, like next to a wall, so it's not easily focused down. If you have a shield or even a D.Va, ask for your Rein, Orisa, or Winston to block the incoming projectiles that are targeting the Immortality Field, because that should be their #1 priority. Against Ashe, you can fully tank the dynamite impact damage and a body shot with your Regenerative Burst. This is good to know in a 1v1 so that you can discipline your Immortality Field usage and to give you the confidence to challenge her if she has potato aim. You can solo kill a Bastion from a short-medium range if you throw your Immortality Field out of his line of sight so that he can't focus it down. It should last long enough for you to kill him or at least force him to retreat even if he starts healing himself. Don't jump as you will get out of LOS of the field. For Doomfist, if you're gonna 1v1, try to hog a wall with your back. This way, you have a better chance to survive his combos with your Immortality Field. This ability is similar to Mei's ultimate, meaning the highest point is in the center of this spherical shape. If you're hugging a wall with a lamp against it, the momentum of his uppercut can't push you out of its range. I also have two bonus tips that I feel are important. Number 1, you can try to use your Immortality Field to block his Rocket Punch, as it will collide with him if he connects during its deployment animation. And number 2, you can dodge his ultimate with your Exo Boots if you think running is not a viable option. When facing Genji in a 1v1, try to use your Exo Boots to hop over his head to confuse him or to escape to high ground if he dashes to you. If there's a Genji that blades with a damage modifier such as Nano Boost or Supercharger, then use your Immortality Field as soon as he dashes towards you, or else he'll die immediately. If the Genji does not have any sort of damage boost, try to time and throw your Immortality Field after he slashes and dashes to get maximum value, since now he has to use 3 slashes to destroy it first. Hanzo's Dragon doesn't hit Immortality Field, so if he is using it, try to place it out of LOS to make it harder for the enemies to focus it down. Against Junkrat, use Immortality Field for his Riptire. Try not to throw it too early. Against McCree, try to predict his Flashbang and throw Immortality Field to counter Fan the Hammer enthusiasts. It's nearly impossible to react to Flash Fan the Hammer combos, so you need to use it preemptively if you see a McCree around the corner or hear his footsteps. In addition, you should use Immortality Field to counter High Noon, since it doesn't lock in on it. Things get interesting with Mei. Here are 3 must-know tips. Firstly, if you throw your Immortality Field on top of a wall, it will bounce off. Do not throw it on the wall, as it will have a weird trajectory. Secondly, if you can't escape her Blizzard, try to charge your Exo Boots and jump almost before you get frozen, so you buy at least 1 second in the air before falling back onto the ground and getting affected by the freeze. This might be just long enough time for you to get your Immortality Field or Regenerative Burst back up to help you survive. Lastly, Mei's wall blocks the effect of Immortality Field. If dueling a Pharah, try to be in the air with your Exo Boots, because now she has to do direct rockets on you, which is much harder for her than splashing it on the ground. Additionally, Baptiste can do a lot of damage against Pharah if he uses the ultimate for himself and Pharah is not that far away. If there is an opportunity for you to take her out of the sky, go for it. Against Reaper, try to react to Death Blossom with Immortality Field. Reaper will do damage to it, but you can try to kill him. You have enough time to do 2 burst fires and 1 melee. He's slow moving and relatively static, so it's not actually as hard as you think as long as you don't panic. Baptiste's Immortality Field gives people inside it a 20% HP safe gap. When this effect kicks in, heroes cannot be subjects of enemy ult charge or lifesteal. This means that if Reaper targets people in the Immortality Field that are already at the required percentage of critical HP that the field provides protection for, he cannot lifesteal. So in theory, you should use your Immortality Field a little bit after he uses his ult, so that he doesn't lifesteal the damage he takes when he uses Death Blossom. When facing a soldier, remember that his tactical visor targets Immortality Field. In a 1v1 scenario, don't jump, as you're really easy to track. If you are forced to take a duel with him, try to go for it after he uses his healing field. Additionally, a general tip for 1v1ing every hero is to throw the Immortality Field out of LOS so that the enemy can't focus it down. The Invulnerability Field has a fixed vertical distance and will fall down fairly quickly, unlike other hero abilities like Ana Grenade or Orisa Shield. If the enemy has a Sombra and you're expecting EMP and you hear the onslaught, throw your Invulnerability Field straight up in the air, because EMP will not hack the drone until it is fully deployed. If your sensitivity is too low to do this, or you play on a controller, you can try to throw the drone to a nearby wall instead, and it will have the same effect if you time it right. Another alternative is hiding when expecting an EMP, then throwing the immortality field on your team afterwards. In scenarios where your immortality field is on cooldown, use your regenerative burst just before the EMP when you hear her unstealth, because you can get the full healing even while hacked as long as it was activated beforehand. Against Symmetra, the best you can do is try to keep your distance, preferably on high ground as she lacks range, and tap her down. Remember the general tip at the beginning of the video. Immortality field works through her ultimate, whilst regenerative burst for your allies doesn't. Regarding Torbjorn, it's really important to know that Immortality Field cannot counter Molten Core. Even if it is placed before the Molten Core touches the ground, it will still get damaged by it. This means that keeping your Immortality Field for his ult is not a smart thing to do, so try to use it for other plays. Tracer's ultimate is easy to counter with Immortality Field as it provides enough time to react accordingly. It's good to know that you can triple headshot her with one burst fire to kill her, so go for headshots. Against the Widowmaker, if she is far away, don't contest her as you will barely tickle her with your gun. If she is in range so that you can do a considerable amount of damage to her, throw your Immortality Field at the wall you want to peek from so that you can survive headshots and at least force her out of position. Also, be considerate with your Exo Boots usage when the enemy team is running a Widow. When facing Ana, try to dodge her sleep dart with your Exo Boots. In addition, if you want to survive an anti-grenade, you can use your Immortality Field. Keep in mind that this doesn't cleanse the anti-healing debuff that the nade has, so try to heal your teammates after the debuff finishes to get the maximum value out of it. In the Baptiste 1 vs 1, the Baptiste that throws Immortality Field second should win the 1v1. As soon as the enemy Baptiste throws the field, focus it down. Don't try charging your Exo Boots in 1v1 scenarios because you are standing still, and if you jump your trajectory is predictable. Brig needs 8 flails to destroy your Immortality Field. If you can't use your range to poke her down to death and you're in a 1v1 short range with her, start by using your regenerative burst and try to throw your Immortality Field behind her so she gets confused and turns around to focus it down. You can charge your Exo Boots and try to escape by getting high ground. Be careful with her whip shot though, as she can push you out of your Immortality Field range. Something you can do against the Lucio is to deploy Immortality Field after he uses Boop, so he doesn't push you out of the range of it. Hug corners or walls to reduce chances of him booping you out. Against Mercy, you can double burst fire her in Valkyrie with your ult in front, if you're in good range of her. If healing your allies is not necessary in that moment and you trust your aim, take her down. Versus Moira, it's good to know that you cannot tank damage orb plus grasp with your regenerative burst, so your best bet is to keep your distance from her. That's of course if you don't feel like a name god at that moment. Zenyatta is easy to hit because of his hitbox, so don't be afraid to 1v1 him, but don't jump with your Exo Boots as you are easier to track in the air.
And that's all the tips for Baptiste. You can find the rest of the 1 Tip series on your screen right now, and thank you ML7 for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Karq. You can find me live streaming at twitch.tv/ml7_ow, or you can check out my videos at youtube.com/ml7_ow.